Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans on this Friday, August 21st, 2020. I'd like to bring you an update on Steven Avery. He has been diligently trying to get his case to be seen and to be heard and to be overturned, the guilty verdict and the murder of Teresa Halbach. And I don't know if some of you have followed his life and storyline on Netflix, Making of a Murderer, but it's a very riveting and interesting tale of how he went to prison for rape. That case was overturned, and then shortly after his release, he was rearrested for murdering a young lady. And his nephew was also arrested as a co-conspirator in that said murder of a young lady. And it's up to you to decide if the evidence is factual, fabricated, planted. Is this man guilty? Is his nephew guilty? Or are they both guilty of assaulting and killing Miss Teresa Halbach? If you need verification for the storyline, please log on to Post Crescent. Steven Avery's fate hangs in the balance as appeals court moves toward ruling Brendan Dassey's case in limbo. Legal briefs have been submitted and a fierce debate over guilt and innocence has been waged. Now a Wisconsin appeals court will determine whether Steven Avery's conviction in the death of Teresa Halbach will stand. Avery's attorney, Kathleen Zellner of suburban Chicago, filed her final brief with the District 3 Court of Appeals on June 25th, clearing the way for the panel to review the case. Meanwhile, Avery's nephew, Brendan Dassey, who also was convicted in Halbach's death and is serving a life term in prison, is still hopeful that Governor Tony Averys will grant his clemency request. Averys has previously declined to consider a pardon for Dassey, but his attorneys and supporters continue to seek a favorable clemency ruling from the governor. No indication has been given that the governor will even consider the request. The case gained international attention after being featured in Netflix's docuseries Making a Murderer, released in December 2015. It cast doubt on the motives of police investigating Halbach's death and left many viewers with the impression that Avery 57 and Dassey 30 were wrongfully convicted. In Avery's case, Zellner has asked the appeals court to either allow additional scientific testing and an evidentiary hearing, or reverse Avery's conviction and grant a new trial. We're going to win this, Zellner wrote in a June 25th post on Twitter. Prosecutors with the Department of Justice think otherwise, arguing that Avery's request for a hearing and reversing his conviction should be denied. They asked the appeal court to reject Zellner's arguments in a reply filed with the court in late May, arguing Avery's claims were speculative, inconsistent, and far-fetched, and that he seems to erroneously believe that he is appealing the jury's determination of guilt. The question on appeal is not whether Avery is guilty of killing Teresa Halbach, prosecutors argued. That question was for the jury, which many years ago answered yes beyond a reasonable doubt. In August 2019, Sheboygan County Judge Angela, I'll make sure I pronounce this correct, Sukiewicz rejected Avery's request for a new trial. Avery argued his conviction was flawed because state prosecutors were mistaken when they turned over suspected human bones to Halbach's family without allowing his side to have them tested. There was no hearing on the issue. A legal expert with no ties to the case says a hearing is justified, even though Avery still faces a daunting challenge to set aside his conviction. An appeal like this is inherently a long shot. After conviction, the presumption of innocence vanishes and a presumption of guilt takes hold. It takes a lot to rebut the presumption in a post-conviction filing like this, said Daniel Medwid, professor of law and criminal justice at Northeastern University in Boston. That said, Zellner raised a number of important issues that, in my view, should be vetted in a thorough evidentiary hearing on the new allegations. Finality is an important value to be sure, but it shouldn't come at the price of justice. And in this case, I think justice, at a minimum, requires a full and robust hearing on whether Avery deserves a new trial. The Court of Appeals website lists the Avery case as awaiting assignment. I assume that means awaiting assignment to a decisional process, which could involve oral argument versus decision on the briefs alone, said Michael M. O'Hare, professor of law at Marquette University Law School. O'Hare said he expects a ruling from the court within 8 to 12 months, maybe less. Zellner has argued that Avery should be allowed to present new evidence she says shows inconsistencies in the state's theory of the case, specifically that Hobbeck was shot in the head on Avery's garage floor. She also claims a forensic fire expert was able to determine that nobody was ever burned in Avery's burn pit. Jerry Buting, who represented Avery at his 2007 trial with attorney Dean Strang, said in a recent tweet that an evidentiary hearing is warranted. He said appeals court is likely to order a full hearing with testimony from witnesses and a new judge. Whew, kind of lengthy. Sorry about that. That's the said information from Post Crescent pertaining to Mr. Avery. And as I state, it's just a matter of what do you believe. Now they're saying, because when I watched the other documentary, it was just like, it's windy because you're trying to remember all this information. As time goes by, you start to forget some of the things that you watched. And so now his side is saying that the bones that were found in the pit weren't tested. His side didn't get to test them, which that is only fair, of course, that yes, each side tests all evidence. But were the bones determined to be a human? Obviously they were. And they're assuming that they were Teresa's. And then many of you who followed the documentary, you knew that her car was found on the Avery salvage yard, covered by boards and I think some branches or whatever. You could tell that someone was trying to conceal that car because you didn't see any other cars having, pieces of board lying in front or side to block the windows or whatever. It looked like someone deliberately tried to conceal the car. Now, did Avery or any of his friends, associates, cohorts, family put that car there to frame him? Did he put that car there because he indeed kidnapped Teresa, brought her back to his home, murdered her, burned her body in the burn pit, in the pit on his property? Did he also get his nephew to go along with this assault, rape, and murder? That's the question. A very riveting story, and it's terrible for this young lady, any lady, to go missing and to be last seen at this man's home to do a photo shoot for a car, and then later her car is found on the said salvage yard property that belonged to Mr. Avery. Evidence of blood found, allegedly belonging, I believe, to Miss Hobbeck in his home. Well, his blood found in the car, excuse me. So, in her car. It's just a matter of what do you believe. He believed, his team, that the blood was planted from earlier blood that was taken and planted by the police inside her vehicle. As I state, what do you believe? Let me know what you think. And please watch the documentary if you're interested in this story about Stephen Avery and his nephew, Brendan Dassey. I really do feel sorry for the nephew because he did appear slow. He does have developmental problems. So one could say if this indeed happened, that he coerced this young boy to do wrong and go along with this assault and murder of this young lady. And if he did, he was a foul human being for doing that. And it's hard to believe a person who would sit in jail for so many years for alleged raping a woman to only go free and then be accused of doing the same thing, but worse, murdering a young lady. Your mind tells you, why would he do that when he just got free? Or is it a matter of Mr. Dassey got lucky and got out? Is it possible that he did really rape that lady that day on the beach? And that got messed up? That DNA ain't right? I'm just saying. Or is it he didn't rape that lady many moons ago, but when he got out of prison, he had a vendetta against the system, the town, and women. And he thought, hey, I'm going to get me another lady, and she won't finger me in a rape, assault, because I'm going to do what I want to do to her, and then I'm going to kill her, and she won't be able to talk. One could think he's angry with women, and he wanted revenge. It's up to you to decide. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Thanks for joining me. Have a beautiful, safe weekend. Mask up, everybody. And this is Everyday Shenanigans. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.